One question that I often get is, how do you go about creating a memoir without hurting the people that you love? Stephen Covey, the author of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, says that most relationships fail because we focus on addressing the superficial issues instead of what's truly bothering us. So in other words, we're addressing the leaves without getting to the roots. And what I found through my own healing journey is that one of the best ways to address the roots and get to the root of the issue is to identify what it is. Most of us only know the superficial issues because that's all we see on the surface. But when you spend some time journaling and really digging and getting to the bottom, you're able to see where it began, what the real trigger is. When you are in the process of journaling, what I have found is that a lot of people desire to write memoirs. They want other people to learn from their stories. They want to share the wisdom from their wounds. And they want to ultimately heal their hurt. And so in that regard, memoirs can be great ideas and great books. But we have to be careful about how we approach it as not to hurt those that we love. So let's talk about it. Memoirs are great stories to help you solve some of those deep-rooted issues. But more importantly, they're great stories to get out into the world, to let other people know that they're not alone in the various things that they may be facing. And more importantly, it serves as a reminder that they can build that resilience and that strength to come out on the other side with success. But you still, like I said, must be careful in the way in which you approach writing your memoir. The first thing that I tell my clients when creating memoirs is to secure your intentions. And what I mean by that is, are you writing to expose all the bad people that did terrible things to you? Or are you writing to help other people understand that bad things can happen and that you can still restore your life after it? Or that you've experienced a lot, but look what happened to you. You really need to understand, is your memoir to help or to hurt? Ultimately, your writing is going to reflect whether you're trying to help and encourage other people or if you're trying to spite, expose, and hurt others. And so it's important that you secure this intention in advance. And my suggestion is, if you're wanting to expose or to hurt other people, that you don't go forward writing the memoir. Ultimately, readers can pick up on your intentions as well, and those memoirs don't sell good for the most part. And so you want to make sure that your intentions are positive intentions as you approach writing your memoir. After you identify your intention behind creating the memoir, you want to avoid focusing on character development or the structure or anything like that. There will come a time and a place for that. But the first thing that you want to focus on is the impact that this will likely have on those you love. So there's 2 things that you can do prior to creating your memoir to prepare those you love to understand where you're coming from. So the first thing you can do is you can share your intentions with your loved ones. So let's say you're writing a memoir and you know that it's going to involve some really private details about your mom or your dad or your sister or your brother, whoever. You can pull them aside and let them know that you're writing this memoir because of, and this is what you hope to happen because of, and really just help them to understand from your perspective. I think a lot of times when people write memoirs and then their family finds out later, that's a lot of where the offense comes from because they weren't even prepared. Now, I'm not saying that if you tell them in advance and you help them to better understand your intentions, that they'll never be offended, but at least they'll be aware of what's coming. And you can open up that line of communication for them to give you feedback and insight. Ultimately, your memoir is from your perspective. 2 people can go through the exact same experience and have a different perspective of it. And so you have to communicate that with them as well, that there's nothing personal necessarily, but this is your way of sharing your story, which everyone has a right to share their own story. The second thing that you can do is you can consider changing names. And so what I mean by that is you can still share your story, but maybe you can share under a pseudonym. So you're not exactly the author, even though you're the author behind the scenes on the front end, you're going under a pseudonym name. Cool fact, but J.K. Rowling actually did not want to have anything to do with the Harry Potter series on the front end. And so she used a pseudonym in the beginning to keep her name distant from it. That's something that a lot of people do to protect the identity of themselves or people that they love, or, just for various reasons. So you can consider changing your name, or you can consider changing the name of your loved ones. So maybe you share a story about your mom, but you change her name to something different, or you share a story about your father and you change the name to something different. Ultimately, people can connect the dots. Like, those close to you will know who your mom really is and who your dad truly is. But maybe those from a distant reader may not be able to. And so this can be a unique way to help to prevent them from being hurt. If you find that after communicating with your loved ones that this is a fair compromise, this is also a good strategy to keep in mind. So your loved ones may say, wow, I really respect that you want to do this story, but I don't want people to look at me in that way, or I don't want people to know this private detail of my life. A great way to compromise would be to change their names or to change your name as well. The truth is, while you can do everything right, we have no way to predict how a memoir could change our relationships. Ultimately, it could hurt or sever a lot of relationships. But what I have come to see is that there's a lot of healing in writing memoirs. There's a lot of communication that's opened up when people are able to be honest about the things that have happened to them, the things that they have experienced, the things that are troubling them. And when you're creating that memoir, it often opens that line of communication between you and your loved ones. There's no perfect strategy when creating a memoir. It can cause harm or it can heal. It's kind of up in the air. But the best thing you can do is arm yourself with the information so that when you approach your memoir, you're totally prepared for either outcome. Comment below and let me know if you have any questions on your approach to creating a memoir. I've also placed a link in my comments so that you can schedule a call with me to get support on getting started. Until next time, I'll chat with you guys later, and make sure you hit like and subscribe before you go so you don't miss another video of mine. Bye, guys.